So my name is Omar Abasad. It's 6:04 p.m., March 15, 2021. So I posted a bunch of tweets with EKG reports. So I'm going to demonstrate to you how it's done. So I usually get hit on the arm. So I'm going to place this right here. And this is what happens. See the wiggly black line at the start? Trying to get a connection here. Has to go green. Notice the heart rate increased. That's because I'm being pulsed. My back, no magnets on me. So the back. The hand. The obliques, the right obliques especially. And this is what asthma looks like. Okay. So that was just a demonstration of the EKGs that I've been posting. So I took some that had the electrodes right here. Well, one side of the electrode, and the other side was my thumb. And got some interesting results. With my thumb, like this, get some very, very interesting results, which I posted. The palpitations follow a pattern. And the pattern seems to be mostly changes every 10 seconds, 10 or 5 seconds. So it goes in increments of 10. Most of the time, which is a very interesting finding. Also, the palpitations, the dips in the EKG graph that shows that it is a palpitation lines up. So evidence that there is an algorithm behind the attacks, which means, of course, that it is experimentation, and it definitely is torture. Definitely is torture. So I also tweeted about how interesting it is that you get told by medical professionals things that sometimes doesn't quite sit right, and I outlined a few of those instances. Um, so, I mean, if I tell the cops that I'm being gang stalked and the cops have a contract on me, and family members like my brother had the contract, and people like Budwin Nizar espousing because there was a contract, there was no way he would have gotten a stewardship. I heard he had a stewardship and he espoused me as well. And I just got a palpitation. There it is right there. Um, there's no way that he would have gotten a stewardship. He would have had to go to court and use a file of information to get that stewardship. That would not have happened if there was not a contract on me. The brother would not be able to. I heard had me went to court. I heard. I'm not sure what if this is not none of this has been disclosed to me. I went to court and had me declared for something, financial incapacity or something like that. So I wasn't working because I was being harassed, and the reports were in the workplace. And being harassed in the workplace, it was very difficult to find work. So that was the reason why I was actually trying to sell my place. So anyway, the brother asked me to stay with him. He asked me, the sister-in-law and the brother asked me to stay with them. And if this was done, then they set me up, basically. There was not ever any financial irresponsibility or incapability. My mouth is drying out. So, yeah. These signals dry out your skin, mouth, eyes. Dry eyes is a very common result of being hit. So yeah, so anyway, so I heard the cops are coming. I heard somebody intercepted me, a worker intercepted me, and he signed a contract with somebody called Rick. I still don't know who Rick is, but Rick is living with me, and part of the contract is to surveil me. So there's no oversight what the contractors do as part of that surveillance. So they look at me inside my home with millimeter wave cameras, maybe real cameras in here. I get comments about what I do in the bathroom outside the window. So I'm assuming that there is a camera, most likely outside the unit. I get comments about, um, what I do in the kitchen or what I have on my screen on the computer. So the Wi-Fi is hacked. I get live comments as I'm tweeting. I get comments outside the window about what I'm tweeting as I tweet it. So definitely the screen is being displayed on other people's computer. So yeah, the Wi-Fi is hacked and the computer is hacked. So the phone is hacked as well. The settings on the phone changes all by itself. I touch it on a certain app will just open up. The colors on the camera will change by itself. Then I hear the comments outside the window, we gotta test it, we gotta challenge it. It's a test. So part of the experiment is to continuously put you through tests and to take feedback. So you're being data mined. Just like under COVID-19, the people who take the vaccine, the mRNA vaccine, the genetic therapy vaccine, really, it is genetic therapy. From what I read, a vaccine is defined as a substance that produces antibodies that fights a disease. So the mRNA vaccine does that, but it's also based on genes. The ability to do that is produced by reading genetic material. So it's programming. It's in a sense, it's programming, or it's reading the programming of a gene, and hopefully, what they're hoping is done, because it's all experimental, is to create antibodies at the end of this process to this spike protein, to this virus, or the spike on the virus, one spike. So it is gene therapy. A vaccine, technically it's a vaccine because it just happens to fall under the definition of a vaccine. It creates the antibodies, the protein that gives hopefully gives you the immunity. But it's really, really, if you get behind that definition, it's gene therapy. But when professionals, government professionals, come on the TV or on whatever site they're being interviewed on, you never hear the words gene therapy. Never. And you really have to ask why. You really have to ask why. And what was the point I was trying to make? What was I trying to say? Okay, so I couldn't tie that point back to what I was trying to the thought I was trying to complete there, so but I'm sure it'll come back to me. This is what happens when you segue out too much. But yeah, so the vaccine, to continue on the point, the vaccine is gene therapy, but it's not being properly disclosed. So what's going on in this building is not disclosed to me, but it is being done under flagging. Again, the flagging is not disclosed because they don't have to disclose it to me. Flagging makes me a target, but they don't have to disclose this to me. But what has changed in the process is because of the Terrorism Act, because I think I was flagged as a terrorist by a worker, 2006 and 5, or 5 or 6. Under the Terrorism Act, you can actually have spies, agents walking around, working with the cops, giving them information. That, in my case, that process is being abused. And it's being abused to recruit for trafficking because I am being trafficked. So talking about Badr Nizar, I think that's where I had started talking about. That's where I started this point. Badr Nizar would not have espoused me if he did, or have a stewardship in the court if I was not a target. So although it was not disclosed to me that there's a contract, everything that falls out of having the contract that I'm blogging about, the feedback that I'm giving on these videos about being harassed, about being stalked, all of this is evidence and proof that there is a contract, or else none of this would be happening. So even though that there is a contract and it's not being disclosed, the cops, when you talk about being surveilled, the cops will tell you you're mentally ill. It's a cover-up, in other words. So these signals is part of this program, the surveillance program, because there's no oversight. So I think this is where I started. There's no oversight to what the contractors will do. So these signals, the algorithm behind the EKG shows that the signals causing the distortions in the EKG is driven by an algorithm, which means that I am being tracked, number one, I am being tortured, and not only that, in a planned way, in an organized fashion. Because if the algorithm changes, depending on who's on the computer, whether it's an automatic, depending on how many people are on the computers looking at me at the same time, then there is a plan behind that. It shows in the algorithm, if you study it long enough, you'll see a pattern. And I just actually started studying it recently because I noticed that the palpitations are lining up. If I do a 5-minute EKG, the dips in the graph is lining up. So the intervals between the high and low power, high power causing the palpitations, are changing in a random way, but in a definite time interval pattern. So yeah, it is torture. Absolutely, it's torture. So I heard that the cops are coming. Um, as I said, the informants are working closely with the cops. The cops respond depending on what the informants tell them. The plan I'm being harassed with is I have suicidal tendencies, which of course I don't. I'm looking for work now that things are opening up with the vaccine. Um, things are opening up, so people are, and a lot of more employers are hiring employees working from home, which is great. That's great for me. So that is a development that actually suits my needs. So yeah, there was a suicidal tendency. So this is why I'm doing this video, just to put my face on camera. Um, you know, um, and just as a footnote, make sure and do your research. I'm just going to close this off here. Just make sure and do your research before you get your mRNA vaccine. There are alternatives. There is the whole virus vaccine that's not based on gene therapy. Hopefully that will come into the market. So it's unfortunate that, in my point of view, that the older people are being used as guinea pigs. It's very unfortunate. I personally, I am not going to take the vaccine. Not going to take the vaccine, even though I'm over 60 years old. Talk to you another time.